Part 37. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 361. There is no doubt that the consciousness that is expressing gratitude to him is the veins of mountains and rivers. He even sent a special thank you gift. Just at this moment, the cry sounded again. The people around him were also frightened by the sound and did not dare to move, and they all looked at Yang Lin. In this terrifying atmosphere, Yang Lin is their backbone. Teacher Yang, what is this crying thing? It can't be a ghost, right? Yeah, the sound is so penetrating. Would you like to go over and take a look? Looking at the people who were almost frightened to death, Yang Lin's face immediately showed a slight smile. The next second he raised his feet and walked towards the jungle that made the noise. When he opened the grass and took a look, the scene that appeared in front of everyone immediately changed everyone's expressions. I saw a kitten-like cub lying quietly in the grass nest among the dense haystacks. The previous sound came from his mouth. Perhaps he noticed the presence of everyone, and there was a trace of panic on this little guy's face. He struggled to stand up but couldn't. Only then did everyone realize that the little guy's limbs seemed to have no bones. It's a little white fox. It turns out to be a fox. I wonder what animal can make such a sound. This is the first time I know that a fox barks like this. This little guy can't be from the same litter just now, right? It doesn't look very similar. The one in the nest just now was all gray, but this one is white. This is normal. Whiteness itself is a recessive gene in animals. It is possible for two black cats to give birth to white cats. This little fox must be sick. You see, its legs look very abnormal. So could it have been abandoned by its own tribe? After some discussion, everyone finally came to this conclusion. And while everyone was talking, Yang Lin had already walked up to the little guy. To everyone's surprise, the originally panicked little guy became surprisingly quiet after seeing Yang Lin coming. It was also at this time that everyone discovered that the little guy actually had a pair of eyes as bright as sapphires. It is these eyes that make it appear particularly agile. For a moment, everyone was inexplicably stunned. At the same time, Yang Lin carefully checked the little guy's physical condition. After confirming that it was just a congenital defect that resulted in incomplete development, a hint of warmth appeared on his face. As he raised his hand, a faint wisp of fairy energy sank into the little fox's body along its limbs. Even though there was only a ray of immortal energy, it made up for the little guy's lack of energy in an instant. The next second the little guy stood up tremblingly. After more than 10 seconds, it even started running and jumping. After playing around for a while, it jumped into Yang Lin's arms, and its long, slender, and fluffy white tail drooped down Yang Lin's elbow like a handle of floating dust. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but marveled again. As a gift from the mountains and rivers to Yang Lin, the little fox is naturally not just an ordinary animal. Coupled with the ray of immortal energy given to it by Yang Lin, it already has some demonic characteristics. If a suitable cultivation method can be found, it may become the first monster in this world. Of course, only Yang Lin knew all this. Everyone around him just thought this little guy was extremely cute. Let's go back. As Yang Lin opened his mouth again, several members of the program team quickly walked out of the villa area with him. Although those internet celebrity bloggers who watched the excitement wanted to explore the temple above, they finally gave up on this tempting idea. After a while, Yang Lin and several members of the program team got back into the van and returned to the hotel in Shillong town. After packing their things, they set off again. It took 2 hours to return to Luteng City. And the time is only noon. As soon as they got out of the car, a familiar figure appeared in front of them. Surprisingly, it was Zhao Jinchinj, the boss of Luteng Industrial. It seemed that they were waiting here specifically for Yang Lin and the others. As soon as Yang Lin got off the bus, he walked up. Among them was Wang Yang, who had made a fortune under Yang Lin's guidance before. Mr. Zhao probably didn't just come to Pandeo to talk about this time. After both of them got in the car drove in the other direction. As soon as the private room door opened, several middle-aged men with extraordinary temperament appeared in front of them. The program team's van also followed closely behind. After arriving in Lilton, we only had lunch boxes and small restaurants every day, and our living standards dropped severely. As soon as these words came out, Zhao Jinqing's face suddenly showed a trace of ridicule. While talking about Zhao Jinqing, he led Yang Lin to a luxury business car nearby. Since they left Jinghai City, they haven't had a meal with Yang Lin for a long time. In the midst of everyone's expectations, Yang Lin nodded lightly. No trouble, no trouble. And several people from the program team on the side also had the same look in their eyes. In this case, I'll trouble Mr. Zhao. You see it's noon now, so you guys must not have eaten either. After a few people got off the bus, Zhao Jinqing led them all the way to a luxurious private room on the 8th floor of the hotel. After doing what you said, my luck is indeed getting better day by day. But this group of business tycoons stood up from their seats one by one after seeing Yang Lin. They naturally want to seize the good opportunity to have a meal. If you want to go to a 5-star or 6-star hotel, you can go there. Sure enough, I can't hide anything from you, Taoist master. Just some ordinary homely meals. Don't worry, there are only a few of my friends at this dinner, and Lao Wang, who troubled you last time. He also wants to thank you for his matter. He keeps telling me that if it weren't for you, he would have already jumped off the building. They had only eaten one breakfast since morning. After a busy morning, they were already hungry. Just as the program team members were full of expectations, the commercial vehicle in front of them quickly stopped in front of the gate of a high-end hotel. Just looking at the door decoration and nothing else, you can tell that this hotel will definitely not be lower than a 5-star hotel. Actually, in addition to expressing my gratitude to you this time, I also want to invite you to have a meal. After selling those treasures, he was now worth hundreds of millions. The faces of the people next to them are either rich or noble. I remember when I was in Jinghai, I almost had a big meal every time. It goes without saying that he must be a business tycoon. Teacher Yang, thank you very much for what happened last time. At this moment, his face was full of youth, and the corners of his mouth were turned up. One look at him showed that he had been doing well recently. Hearing Zhao Jinqing's words, Yang Lin just smiled. After saying that, Zhao Jinqing looked at Yang Lin anxiously, fearing that Yang Lin would not agree. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 362. Hello, Taoist Master Yang, I, Su Wenkei, have been a friend of Lao Zhao for many years. Hello, Taoist Master Yang, I, Peng Chun Liang, am also a friend of Lao Zhao. In the private room, as these rich and noble middle-aged men took the initiative to say hello to Yang Lin, the atmosphere instantly became lively. Their reputation and status can also be seen through the business cards they handed over. As expected, except for Wang Yang, all 4 people present were CEOs of large listed companies. They are all worth over 10 billion. And they are either engaged in the real estate industry or the financial industry. They are also famous in their respective circles. After everyone present introduced each other, they began to take their seats one after another. As a latecomer, Yang Lin sat in the main seat without any surprise. Not long after he sat down, a series of high-end dishes with exquisite styles, colors, flavors were brought in by the waiter. There are meat and vegetables, delicacies and seafood, hot dishes and cold dishes. Almost all the 8 major cuisines of Long Country can be found here. When the huge dining table was filled with delicacies, the eyes of both the program crew and the audience in the live broadcast room were instantly fixed. Hey, be good, is this their daily routine? I believe it if you say it's a Manhan banquet. I didn't expect that the best food in the city would be Yang Lin's group. No, the other groups are probably still eating their lunches at the moment. That's right. The other stars and their staff are all eating box lunches right now. After all, for them, it is still the early stage of starting a business, so they have to save money wherever they can. This is simply unreasonable. The staff in this group can always follow Yang Lin. They have been burning incense in their last life. This table full of dishes really makes me hungry. Can they finish eating? It's such a waste to order so much. While the audience in the live broadcast room were still expressing envy, several staff members of the program team had already picked up chopsticks. Without saying anything, they started eating. Zhao Jinqing and others also showed great enthusiasm. He kept introducing the dishes on the table to Yang Lin. After taking a few bites calmly, Yang Lin put down his chopsticks and looked at a few people. If you guys have anything, just say it. As long as it's within the poor's ability and you can afford the price, it won't be a problem. After speaking, Yang Lin looked at one of the middle-aged men with a slightly bald head. According to the business card he handed over earlier, his name should be Peng Chunliang, the boss of Jimu Real Estate. Yang Lin had already noticed him as soon as he entered the door. And it goes without saying that this dinner was organized just for him. Noticing Yang Lin's gaze, Peng Chunliang smiled immediately. Sure enough, I can't hide anything from you, Taoist priest. This time, I really have something to ask Taoist master for help. That's right. I have a project on my hands that is about to be completed. It's a stock exchange building. I would like to ask you to come and take a look at the feng shui before delivering it. When Yang Lin heard Peng Chunliang's words, before Yang Lin could react, the program crew who were having dinner raised their heads. Can't you just find a well-known feng shui master to take a look at this kind of thing? Yes, there should be quite a few famous feng shui masters in China. It's very expensive to ask our teacher Yang to do feng shui. After saying this, the group started eating again. Peng Chunliang also quickly explained. If it's just an ordinary project, it will definitely be no problem to find a feng shui master. But this securities trading building is different. The front and back investment alone is close to 2 billion. What's more important is that when this building was built, there were some feng shui issues on that land that were not resolved. Originally, everything was fine, but I don't know who exposed some old things that happened on the internet, causing some companies that were supposed to move in to have their deposits refunded. Having said this, Peng Chunliang also showed a wry smile on his face. Yang Lin looked at him with interest. Did Mr. Peng himself invest in this building? Peng Chunliang nodded immediately to Yang Lin's question today. That's right. I originally invested with a few friends. But all of my friends have passed away over the years, and this building has become my own. The deaths of my friends have nothing to do with me. One of them died of cancer, one died of depression, and another was in a car accident. Good guy, you are so brave. The Taoist priest is right. At this point, even Peng Chunliang himself didn't want to say anything. Otherwise we won't be able to proceed with this project. After speaking, Yang Lin looked out the window. It should be a cemetery, Pandeo was right, right. When the people on the other side heard that it was the cemetery, they could no longer calm down. Just when the audience was shocked, Yang Lin spoke again. As for the members of the program team, they were all so shocked that they stopped using their chopsticks. If Pandeo guessed correctly, the land you expropriated was not for residential houses. Following his gaze, he saw an unusually tall building appearing there less than 1 kilometer away from the hotel, shaped like a sharp knife. But I'm afraid, it's not just the three of them who died because of this building. The building is built on the cemetery. Can the feng shui be improved? Our school is built on a cemetery. When we were working on weeding in the past, People would dig out human bones. It was no big deal. 3 people died during the land acquisition, 2 died of illness while digging the foundation, and during construction, a worker had a car accident as soon as he left the construction site. However, these things were all accidents, and the relevant departments have also determined responsibility. They have nothing to do with us. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the private room suddenly became weird. Perhaps noticing the expressions everyone looked at him, he quickly explained. Although the place where you built the building used to be a cemetery, Pandeo doesn't think the problem lies here. No matter how I listen to it, I feel that Peng Chunliang's last words are a bit weird. Pandeo can see that the deaths of your friends have nothing to do with you. Peng Chunliang nodded in acquiescence. Only Yang Lin nodded lightly. Even if the deaths of these people have little to do with the project itself, it is still too evil. Peng Chunliang reluctantly smiled again. How else can you think of it as being cheap and without any disputes? Humanity has been around for so many years. Who can guarantee that no one has died where they lived before? It's just a cemetery. It's normal. Faced with Yang Lin's words, Peng Chunliang looked embarrassed, but finally nodded. They obviously didn't expect that more than a dozen people would die in such a project. What do you think about building a building on a cemetery? After it was built, a couple of young people jumped from the roof of the building from nowhere. But his explanation was so pale. And what Yang Lin said next almost made them unable to eat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 363. When Yang Lin looked into the distance along the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, everyone unconsciously followed his eyes and looked forward. The first thing that caught their eyes was a towering skyscraper. And this building is another landmark building in Luteng City after Luteng Building. The name is Ando Building. The building is more than 300 meters high and was built 10 years ago. In addition to the Atan Building, you can also see another slightly shorter building next to it. This building is the Luteng City Financial Center invested and built by Peng Chunliang and others. The distance between the two is less than 100 meters. In terms of shape, the Luteng City Financial Center resembles a bull. This look was originally designed by well-known foreign designers who spent a lot of money. It is a good sign for a bull market. Everyone watched for a long time, but couldn't see anything interesting. In the end, Peng Chunliang lost his temper and couldn't help but ask. Taoist priest, you said it's not a feng shui problem, so what exactly is the problem? It can't be a coincidence. There are so many coincidences. There is no reason for me to catch up alone. Hearing Peng Chunliang's words, everyone present also focused their attention on Yang Lin. Facing the curious eyes of everyone, Yang Lin finally spoke slowly. Pandeo just said that it has little to do with the feng shui of your building itself, but he didn't say that it has nothing to do with the feng shui of the outside. If Pandeo guessed correctly, the cemetery where the land was originally acquired should be an old cemetery. As soon as these words came out, Peng Chunliang nodded immediately. Taoist master, you are right. It is indeed an old cemetery. It was there during the previous dynasty. Due to the practice of cremation in recent decades, no one is buried there. That's it? An old cemetery from the former dynasty doesn't have much impact on the overall feng shui, let alone killing more than a dozen people in a row. As he said that, a slight smile appeared on Yang Lin's face. If a random cemetery can destroy feng shui, then there probably won't be any so-called feng shui treasures in the world. What Taoist Master Yang said seems to make sense. I think so too. Aren't there some villages next to ancient battlefields? Hundreds of thousands of people were buried underneath. I haven't seen anything happen to that village. So since it's not the feng shui problem on that piece of land, then where is the problem? Could it be somewhere nearby? Everyone in the private room while they were talking looked around. As they looked at it, they also noticed the building that looked like a sharp knife. The next second, a program staff member sitting next to Yang Lin said loudly with a look of realization. I understand, the problem is with the tall building next to it. The building looks like a sharpened knife, and the financial center looks like a stampeding bull. The bull's head is facing the direction of the sharp knife blade. If it hits it? At this point, he stopped talking and turned to look at Yang Lin aside. Teacher Yang, am I right? Obviously he himself didn't know whether his guess was correct or not. It wasn't until Yang Lin nodded slightly that a proud expression appeared on his face. It seems that my following teacher Yang these days has not been in vain. I have learned more or less something superficial. After hearing his words, Peng Chunliang and others quickly took a closer look. Sure enough, it was just as he said. The bull's head in the financial center is aimed right at the edge of the Endo building. Feng Shui, which is not problematic in itself, becomes problematic in this way. The next second, Peng Chunliang sat back on his seat with a pale complexion. How could this be? I remember that when I saw it before, it wasn't like this. And for such an obvious problem, why didn't the Feng Shui masters we looked for find it? Seeing his lost look, Yang Lin spoke again. The pair of horns should have been added later, right? Suddenly hearing Yang Lin's words, Peng Chunliang nodded in confusion. Yes, our original horns were not in this direction, and the height was higher than this. But because the approval was not passed, the design plan was changed. Is this the problem? Endo? Doesn't it sound like a name from our Dragon Kingdom? Then these guys also have bad intentions. They designed a building to look like a saber. At worst, you can make your cow run in another direction. Suddenly, the crowd was furious. Do you still need to consider this kind of problem? Even after thinking about it, he didn't understand what Yang Lin meant. Run in another direction. Speaking of which, there is still some competition with us. It feels like a small day. While talking, a staff member of the program team opened the mobile encyclopedia and showed the information on it to everyone. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Lin glanced at him. Yang Lin nodded non-committally. Before Peng Chunliang could speak, Zhao Jinjinj took the lead in answering. For a while, Peng Chunliang also fell into deep thought. As soon as these words came out, Peng Chunliang suddenly felt enlightened. We can't just demolish their building. Besides, it's such a mysterious thing. At this time, another program staff member took the initiative to stand up. To the east are other people's buildings, but to the west is a vast expanse of land. For the bulls, it's a flat plain with a bright future. Does the Demon City also have a building like this? This Endo building is also for finance, and it is also the headquarters of Endo Bank. It was the first batch of foreign-funded enterprises to come in through bidding. You don't need to think it, in fact, I am the property of Xyli. Take a look at the surrounding terrain. Yes, that's right, I also think it's a bit like Xiaoxi's style. What do these guys want to do? It's really unlucky. Why is he from Xiaoxi's family? It clearly shows that this foreign-funded enterprise named Endo Bank is affiliated with a famous financial group in Xyli. After understanding this, there was a burst of curses in the private room and the live broadcast room. However, as a party involved, Peng Chunliang is most concerned about how to deal with this issue. You can't move other people's buildings. Is it possible that you can't move your own? By the way, what is the building next to it used for? They couldn't have done it on purpose, deliberately building the building to look like this. Then what should we do in this situation now? Taoist Master Yang. That shouldn't mean that their house was built first and the Luteng City Financial Center was designed later. In addition, You also moved in first and thought that the feng shui problem lay in the building itself, so you did not consider the surrounding conditions, so you ignored the building next to it. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 364. As the staff of the refugee program team walked around the room, not only Peng Chunliang, but also everyone else felt like they were waking up from a dream. As this staff member said, the number of high-rise buildings in Luteng City is limited. And the vast majority of them are concentrated in the east. In the west, due to the lower level of development, most of them are residential areas. Compared with the East District, where there are many high-rise buildings, the West District is flat. If the overall orientation of the Greenvine Financial Center can face the west, then everything will be fine. You see, not only you, but I also learned a lot from Teacher Yang. Even my horizons have broadened. If I don't want to work in the media in the future, I can consider changing my career to become a feng shui master. Maybe I can earn more than I do now. However, before the staff member could feel proud, someone poured cold water on him. What you said is simple, but have you ever considered the cost of implementation? With such a big building, is it possible that you want it to be reorganized as a whole? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the private room immediately looked at each other. And Peng Chunliang himself became depressed again. He knew very well that there was nothing wrong with what he said. For an ordinary private house, turning around is already a huge project. What's more, it's a large office building with a volume of more than 1 million square meters. Even if there are domestic engineers who can take on such a large project, the cost of the entire project may not be close to that of building a new one. Only fools would do this kind of thing where the gain outweighs the loss. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. After going around in circles for so long, things were back to the starting point. Another way is to consider changing the overall shape of the building, from a cow head to a cow tail. Yet another staff member couldn't help but make a suggestion of his own. But as soon as he made the suggestion, it was quickly rejected by everyone present. What are you thinking? A building has already been registered with the relevant departments before it is built. You may not even be able to get approval if you change the color of the facade, but you also change the shape of the entire building. That is to say, if you dare to change today, he will punish you to the point of bankruptcy tomorrow. This is no longer a simple matter of fines. You might want to send Mr. Peng in. Then what should I do? This won't work, and that won't work either. What else can we do? Professional matters must be left to professionals. As he spoke, everyone looked at Yang Lin again. Teacher Yang, you might as well have an idea. Seeing everyone's sincere eyes, Yang Lin simply stopped showing off. The finger pointed directly at the Luteng Financial Center in the distance. Since we can't get this bull to turn back, we have to find ways to build momentum for it. Make it powerful enough to crush the saber building, so even if it collides head-on with the blade, it won't necessarily be the loser. Building momentum. Listening to this word, everyone was thoughtful, but they didn't know why. How to build momentum? Can the Taoist priest explain clearly? Peng Chunliang pleaded again. I wonder if you have seen the cows on the grassland. Yang Lin suddenly asked this question. Although Peng Kaiuliang didn't know why he asked this question, he still nodded. Cows on the grassland obviously eat grass, but why are they not afraid of beasts like lions and cheetahs? I know this, because the cattle on the grassland are in groups, and they are rarely alone. Yes, I saw it in the animal world when I was a child. Thousands of bison gathered together on the grassland. Once they charge, even a group of lions can only flee. I still remember a bold lion who tried to attack a herd of bison and was trampled to pieces by the bison. As everyone told their stories one after another, they seemed to understand something. Peng Chunliang's eyes gradually brightened. Taoist master, you want me to get a few more cows to use against that sharp knife. But I can't build a few more buildings. When Yang Lin said this, Peng Chunliang almost knelt down in front of him. Don't worry, I will count the money for teacher Yang one by one when the time comes. 9 heads are better. Of course there is no need to rebuild the building, but we can put a group of bull statues around the building. Just by placing them in a fixed position, they add momentum to the building. I just need you to provide a large enough stone. Teacher Yang is famous for his versatility. As for this matter, Pandeo can actually give it a try. Upon hearing this solution, both Peng Chunliang and others in the private room couldn't help but be stunned. Don't say 9, there is no problem with 99. The consulting fee and labor fee are calculated together. Do you think this is a good figure? The next second, Yang Lin said, go and contact someone to buy stones. Hearing these words from the program team, Peng Chunliang nodded quickly as if he was pounding garlic. As soon as these words came out, Yang Lin immediately smiled and shook his head. After hearing these words from him, the members of the program team seemed to have thought of something. What else could be wrong? It must be the charm. If that's the case, then just go to the market and buy a few statues. And according to Teacher Yang, if the body is small, it will definitely not work, but if it is large, there will be another issue of freight. A conservative estimate is that the freight will cost tens of millions. Is this okay? Taoist priest, you really mean what you said? He raised a finger as he spoke. I remembered what you said. I saw it when I was watching videos online. Yes, Mr. Peng, you can do whatever you want with the price. However, just when everyone was talking about it, Yang Lin suddenly spoke. By the way, the stone materials should be available in Shillong town not far from here. It's not too far away and can be delivered in a few hours. This shouldn't work well. I've seen statues with steel and concrete structures. Although they are indeed very well made, I always feel that something is missing. But then again, the consulting fee is a consulting fee, and the labor fee has to be calculated separately. Based on modern technology, it only takes a few days to make a statue. It's a reinforced concrete process anyway. You actually have such skills. By the way, when I was in Jinghai, Teacher Yang seemed to have carved 2 earthworm statues to suppress floods. Statue. Masters of that level must all be old men now. It probably takes more than a year to carve 1 head. If you carve 9 heads, you probably have to send the old man away. And the number represented by this finger is self-evident. If you ask me, just find a master craftsman and let them carve it out of raw stone. This will definitely have the best effect. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 365. As Yang Lin asked Peng Chunliang to purchase stones, the matter was settled. Peng Chunliang almost didn't even think about it before he agreed. Okay, I'll contact someone to buy it right now. Taoist master, you are really my savior. I would like to pay my respects to you. As he spoke, Peng Chunliang picked up the wine glass in front of him, raised his head and swallowed the full glass of white wine. The atmosphere in the private room became cheerful again. By the time the meal was finished, it was already 2 hours later. While Yang Lin and others returned to the hotel to rest, Peng Chunliang also hurriedly contacted the stone-related matters. As a person who has been involved in the construction industry for decades, it took him almost no time to settle on 9 stones. And these stones are all high-quality products from Shillong town. Only 5 hours had passed, and 9 large trucks carrying huge rocks arrived at the entrance of Luteng City Financial Center. After hearing the news, Yang Lin also rushed over quickly. When he looked at the neatly arranged stones in front of him, he nodded unconsciously. Peng Chunliang on the side also let out a long sigh after seeing Yang Lin nod. You must know that he spent several million from purchasing these 9 huge stones to transporting them here. If Yang Lin said he was unqualified, he would suffer a big loss. Tao Zhongyang, now that these stones have been transported, when will you start taking action? If you need any tools, or some helpers, just ask. As long as you ask, they will be arranged for you immediately. As soon as Peng Chunliang finished speaking, Yang Lin walked to the front of a giant stone. After looking around, he answered. Just now. As soon as he finished speaking, Peng Chunliang had not yet reacted. After reacting, surprise flashed across his face. Taoist priest, there is no need to be in such a hurry. You see, it is almost dark now. How about you take another night's rest and start work again early tomorrow morning? After all, this is a big project, and it won't be completed in a while. However, facing his words, Yang Lin just shook his head. No need, it doesn't make much difference if you go one day earlier or one day later. And Pandeo also needs to adapt first. After saying this, he took out a book from his sleeve without caring about the opinions of others. And this book is the shaping secret that was previously obtained from the sarcophagus. Previously, he had only taken a cursory glance and did not study in depth. Naturally, the free time I have now is to study hard. The people on the side didn't think anything happened when they saw him suddenly taking out a book. But when their peripheral vision accidentally caught a glimpse of the content on the book, their expressions changed instantly. Especially Peng Chunliang. Although he couldn't see the specific content on the book, he could tell from the pattern that it was a book about engraving. You can also clearly see some illustrations of carving techniques on it. Suddenly his expression became a little tense. However, seeing Yang Lin's serious look, he didn't hesitate to ask more questions, so he could only turn his attention to the people on the side of the program team. Please ask Teacher Yang, has he really studied carving systematically before? Upon hearing Peng Chunliang's question, several members of the program team were stunned for a moment, and then answered slightly uncertainly. Well, we really don't know much about this matter. Yeah, actually we haven't known Teacher Yang for a long time. It's only been a month now. But Teacher Yang's previous attainments in jade carving were very advanced. Yes, don't worry. Teacher Yang is proficient in all kinds of skills, so there won't be any problems. However, the words of several members of the program team did not make Peng Chunliang feel relieved. Instead, he became more and more worried. At this moment, Yang Lin took out a hammer and an iron drill from nowhere. Before anyone could react, he held a hammer in one hand and an iron drill in the other, and struck hard at the stone about 10 meters high in front of him. The sound of the hammer shook the sky, and fire exploded. A piece of stone the size of a human head was chiseled out directly. Seeing this scene, Peng Chunliang felt his heart beating loudly. In his opinion, even if Yang Lin was confident, he would have to make a draft before starting construction. How can anyone start doing it like this? It felt a bit noisy at first, but later I found it became more and more rhythmic, even a little bit heady. After looking at it for a few times, I started carving again. Everyone was dazzled. Is there really nothing wrong with Teacher Yang? He has a hammer in the east and a hammer in the west. Until now, I haven't noticed that it looks like a cow. No, this sound makes me want to sleep. Not long after, there was a rhythmic knocking sound from the front of the building. But even so, they still didn't see the prototype of the carving. Is that all there is today? At the beginning, there were still large areas of edges that were about to fall off, and only some tiny bits were left behind. Already done. Large swaths of scraps began to fall from the boulders. The speed of swinging the hammer is getting faster and faster. Yang Lin did not use any other tools during the whole process, and only had a hammer and an iron drill in his hand. Hearing Peng Chunliang's question, Yang Lin glanced at him first, and then replied calmly. Good guy, I didn't expect that one day I would be watching stone sculptures in the live broadcast room. During this process, neither Peng Chunliang nor the program team dared to disturb him or even talk to him. But as time went on, his proficiency grew. I was afraid that it would affect him and cause some details to be wrong. Then I saw him throwing the tools in his hands aside and patting the dust on his hands. Don't tell me that this process is quite stress-relieving. It's comparable to trimming cow hooves and washing carpets. Let's watch it slowly first and see what it will look like in the end. Seeing his appearance, Peng Chunliang couldn't help but ask. At the same time, the audience in the live broadcast room gradually became fascinated. The whole person kept flipping up, down, left, and right on the stone as if he was changing his body. What? To be honest, I don't see it either, but how could such a large stone sculpture be completed in a day or two? He may have just polished a rough outline first, and then refined it later. Just at this moment, Yang Lin suddenly jumped down from the top of the stone. At the beginning, his movements were very slow, like an apprentice who had just started learning stone carving. He won't be prepared to work all night. Even an Iron Man will be exhausted. This sound is also very magical, and it keeps making tinkling noises. Just as the audience in the live broadcast room was talking to each other, they suddenly discovered that as Yang Lin struck, the falling waste began to become less and less. That's how it should be. And at this moment, Yang Lin suddenly turned back and continued to flip through the book. It doesn't feel like making stone sculptures, but it feels a bit like forging iron. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 366. In front of the giant stone, as Yang Lin said the words completed, Peng Chunliang, the program team, and even the audience in the live broadcast room were all stunned. Looking at the stone that had not yet taken any shape, and then looking at Yang Lin's confident expression, they couldn't help but feel a little confused in their hearts. In the end, it was Peng Chunliang who spoke hesitantly. Well, Taoist master, are you saying that the preliminary polishing is completed? No, the entire carving is completed, Yang Lin replied with a firm expression. This time Peng Chunliang completely lost his ability. Tianation's lump of stone couldn't match the stone cow carving in his mind. Even if you say he is a stone lion or a stone tiger, there will be no problem. But the only thing is that it is not like a cow, there are no horns, no tail, no strong muscles, nothing. No wonder he thought so, because the stone in front of him was not much different from the previous one. At this moment, the audience in the live broadcast room couldn't help it anymore. No, Yang Lin must be joking. This thing is not even a semi-finished product. Indeed, it looks like it just took a few hammer blows and rubbed off some edges. Isn't it some kind of freehand style that you don't follow? It's like calligraphy. There must be some intention behind the freehand brushwork. There is nothing in this pile of rocks. I really can't stand on Yang Lin's side this time. This is a bit misleading. I don't think Yang Lin has fooled others before. Maybe there is some twist in it. I think so. There's no need to lie so openly. Just when everyone expressed their incomprehension, Yang Lin walked straight towards the stone. It's the first time I've used this kind of carving technique, so I'm still a little bit unskilled. If there's anything wrong with the carving, please forgive me. You guys should step back a little bit. Although some people didn't quite understand what Yang Lin meant, everyone finally retreated a few meters away out of trust in him. At this time, Yang Lin suddenly patted the center of the stone. It seemed like a soft and weak palm, but it made the stone rustle. Click. With a crisp cracking sound, dense cracks suddenly appeared on the giant stone. It's like a crushed tea egg. Before everyone could react to what was going on, a miraculous picture appeared in front of them. After a crashing sound, large pieces of stone began to slide down from above. When these stones fell to the ground, they immediately caused large amounts of smoke and dust. In an instant, everyone's eyes were blocked by smoke and dust. They were so frightened that they quickly covered their mouths and noses for fear of being choked. It wasn't until nearly a minute passed that the dense smoke began to slowly dissipate, revealing a giant figure behind the smoke. I saw this huge thing, about 10 meters high and 15 meters long. The muscles all over the body were knotted, like knives and axes. The huge head was raised high, and above the head, two sharp horns like sharp knives penetrated into the sky, shining with a dazzling cold light under the rising moonlight. Under this huge body are four hooves like pillars. Peng finally made a profit this time. This stone bull is already a work of art, and it's also top-notch. It's not a problem to sell it for 100 million per head. With such a sacred cow sitting in charge, why should he be afraid of the saber of his childhood? How on earth did Yang Lin do it? He just hit it with a few hammers, and then tapped the cow inside and it came out. It was so simple that I even doubted that I could do it. I'll go, it's such a big cow. If I hadn't watched him do it before, I would have even suspected that it was a bull fossil hidden in the stone. Fortunately, the vision he just saw suddenly disappeared at this time. Is there really such a magical craft in the world? They were so frightened that they turned around and ran away on the spot. The stone statue was still the same stone statue, standing there quietly, bathed in the moonlight, motionless. These four hooves are obviously still there, but they give people the feeling of running hard, and everyone can even detect the smoke and dust it brings up when running. Looking at it, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. It's not just a prophet, it's a real prophet. This cow is a landmark building no matter where it is. Some wealthy businessmen who like to get lucky may be willing to pay a higher price to buy it. You can also better appreciate the shock brought by the stone cow. When I said this, I was reminded of the illusion of the chef Ding explaining the cow, except that the chef Ding interpreted it as a live cow, and Yang Lin interpreted it as a stone cow. It doesn't feel like a sculpture, but a sacred cow with mystery. Just when everyone in the live broadcast room was filled with emotion, Peng Chunliang was already in admiration. It should be a special carving technique. First, roughly understand the texture of the stone inside, and then start based on the texture. At that time, the carving was actually completed, but the stone had not yet had time to fall off. But just when everyone was shocked by this miraculous skill, Yang Lin shook his head slightly, as if he was not satisfied with the stone cow in front of him. Thinking of this, his respect for Yang Lin became even deeper. This is probably a magical skill. It's beyond description because it's so lifelike. Not only the appearance, but also the facial expressions and movements are captured vividly. It's really a cow. How did it come out suddenly? Didn't you feel it come alive just now? This bull looks too real. Except for being a little bigger, it is exactly the same as a bull in a bull ring. Even the texture of the muscles on its body is the same. How did Yang Lin know that there was a cow hidden in this stone? Compared to the audience in the live broadcast room across the screen, he has a deeper understanding at this moment. And just when everyone at the scene was about to urinate in fear, the audience in the live broadcast room also recognized the identity of this behemoth. What's more, Yang Lin wants to carve more than just one head this time. I even have a feeling that this stone cow may come back to life at any time. When they looked again, the behemoth in front of them seemed to have come to life. It raised its huge head and was about to rush towards them. It happened that at this moment they vaguely heard heavy breathing coming from the stone statue. Yeah, Yang Lin just slapped his hand on it, and it carved itself out by itself. Only a pair of big light bulb-like eyes frightened them. If there weren't so many people at the scene and there were cameras, he really wanted to kiss Yang Lin in person. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 367. Looking at the stone bull statue in front of him, Yang Lin's expression was not very satisfied. The reasons for dissatisfaction are actually very obvious. The stone cow in front of him did not meet his expectations. Although it is both physically and spiritually, it always feels like something is missing. After some thinking, Yang Lin finally understood. What's missing is the agility. According to the records of Shaping Ju, the final work should look like a living thing. But when he thought about it carefully, Yang Lin felt relieved. After all, this is the first time he has carved according to the method recorded in the sculpture formula. If he can do it in one go, then he is not a genius among geniuses. Thinking of this, he immediately picked up the hammer and iron drill again in front of everyone and walked towards the second stone. Seeing this scene, everyone present immediately showed surprised expressions. Teacher Yang, don't you guys take a break? Yes, it's already 10 p.m. Why don't we take a rest overnight and continue tomorrow? Anyway, we don't need a day or two like this. However, no matter how everyone tried to persuade him, Yang Lin remained unmoved. Still minding his own business, he walked to the stone. Only this time, he didn't rush to take action, but seriously stared at the boulder in front of him and observed it. This viewing lasted for an hour or two, and no one was involved in the entire process. And time is also passing by little under such circumstances. Soon it was 12 midnight. Several people from the program team standing by were already yawning non-stop and feeling very sleepy. Just when they were about to find a random step to sit down and relax for a while, Yang Lin suddenly moved. I saw him raising the hammer and knocking it down as before. Suddenly a crisp sound sounded from the boulder. Large swaths of waste began to fall from above. Just a few people in the program crew suddenly lost their sleepiness. At this moment, the audience in the live broadcast room, which was originally groggy, was forcibly pulled back one by one. When they saw Yang Lin's busy figure, they all immediately became energetic. Yang Lin is finally starting. I thought he would wait until tomorrow. Yeah, I almost fell asleep just waiting. Now as long as you don't exit the live broadcast room, I'm afraid you won't be able to sleep anymore. No, this sound is too loud. I still feel sleepy when I listen to it. Anyway, he won't be able to finish it in a while. I'll take a nap first, and then I'll see what he looks like when he wakes up. I'm going to sleep too, and the rest of you are responsible for keeping an eye on it. Good night everyone, see you tomorrow. As time passed, the audience in the live broadcast room finally couldn't bear the heavy sleepiness. Many viewers chose to fall asleep listening to the sound of Yang Lin carving stone sculptures. At the same time, the program team members who were present at the scene gradually felt a little bored after experiencing the initial novelty. Forget it, how about we take a nap too? I think you can estimate that Teacher Yang will be busy all night. Anyway, the audience should be asleep by now. Let's just point the camera at Teacher Yang. I think the steps over there seem pretty clean. Let's go sleep there later. Okay, since the weather is neither hot nor cold, it should be no problem if you don't cover yourself with a quilt or anything. Then do we want to say hello to Teacher Yang? No need, look at how energetic he is now, I guess he might not be able to hear us when we talk to him. That's true. Let's go to bed. While talking, the program team members discussed it and walked to an open step nearby. They were too sleepy to care so much. They fell down and closed their eyes, falling asleep one after another. After a while, there were bursts of snoring. Echoing this was the sound of Yang Lin wielding a hammer and chiseling the stone. Time also passes quietly under such circumstances. Unknowingly, one night has passed, and the originally dark night sky has gradually faded out with a hint of fish-belly white. Just at this time, a program staff member who was sleeping on the steps was awakened by the urge to urinate. Not daring to delay, he rubbed his eyes first, then stood up, raised his feet and prepared to find a nook and cranny to solve the problem. But just when he seemed to be awake, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Subconsciously, he thought it was a wall and prepared to go around it. But when he thought about it carefully, he vaguely remembered that there seemed to be no walls here before. Realizing this, he quickly wiped his eyes again and then looked up. He was immediately frightened when he saw it, and he felt a heat in his crotch. Then his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. He wanted to turn around and run away, but maybe it was because the soaking in urine just now took away all his strength, and he couldn't move at all. I can only step back bit by bit. Following his gaze, he saw that what was rolling in front of him like a mountain was a giant bull with bulging muscles and huge anger. The bull raised its head high on its head with a pair of scimitar-like sharp horns. With every breath, thick white air spurted out from the two huge nostrils. From time to time, a low mooing sound comes from its mouth. A pair of powerful front hooves were constantly digging at the ground, as if they were about to charge at any time. The program staff member had no doubt that even if a tank were placed in front of the bull, it would be knocked away by him, let alone one with such a small body. But even if I beat him to death, he wouldn't be able to figure out where a bull would suddenly run out in the city center. But at this moment, he suddenly felt that there seemed to be something else behind and beside him. Unconsciously, he slowly turned his head to look around. At this glance, he immediately sat down on his butt. I didn't know when there were several other bulls appearing in all directions around him. Each of these bulls is like the legendary demon bull, with soaring momentum, as if nothing in the world can stop their pace. If the one just now was added, there seemed to be 9 bulls appearing in front of him at this moment. He could even imagine what kind of scene would happen when these 9 bulls were running towards him at the same time. I was afraid that he would be trampled to pieces on the spot. The more he thought about this, the more frightened he became. After shouting, he was frightened and fainted. And not long after he fainted, a bright beam of sunshine shone from the east. When the sun shone on the 9 demonic cows, these big guys who were so menacing a second ago began to petrify little by little. It eventually turned into a lifelike bull statue, standing in the square in front of Green City Financial Center. At the same time, a figure also walked over. When he saw the fainted staff on the ground, he couldn't help but shook his head. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 368. The time came to 6 o'clock in the morning, and the fiery sun finally rose from the east. The whole city was also awakened at this moment, and at the same time, the program staff who were sleeping soundly on the steps nearby were also awakened. When they were forced to open their eyes under the dazzling sunlight, what they saw immediately shocked them. In the square not far in front of them, they saw 9 lifelike stone cow statues standing proudly. Each end has its own characteristics, and each end has its own charm. Some raised their heads and roared, some lowered their heads and frowned, some made a charging stance, and some stopped and glared. The only thing they have in common is that the details on them are perfect to the extreme. Can't even think of the right words to describe them. For a while, several members of the program team even began to wonder if there was a double image in front of them. Until they rubbed their eyes again and again. After confirming that they had seen it correctly, they all immediately exclaimed, "Oh my God, Teacher Yang actually carved all 9 stone cows in one night. I'm not dreaming. Teacher Yang's efficiency is too high. It's just incredible. Yeah, how could such a big project be completed in one night? Even if you don't sleep all night, it's impossible. Teacher Yang is so awesome that I have to give him a capital letter. Not to mention high efficiency, the key is how to achieve such high quality. I feel like the 8 heads at the back are much stronger than the first one in the front. In general, I can't see much difference, but it feels like the following ones are alive and the first one is dead. I'm really afraid these cows are going to suddenly come to life. It's not surprising that he survived. While talking, several people walked towards the cows. At this moment, they suddenly discovered one of their companions lying on the ground, with his crotch still wet. "Old Chen, why are you sleeping here? Yeah, you were sleepwalking in the middle of the night or something." Looking at him like this, he must have been holding his urine late at night. He was looking for the toilet in his dream, and then he found this place. "Old Chen, wake up quickly." Under the beating and pushing of everyone, the program staff member lying on the ground finally woke up. The first thing he did after waking up was to scan around with alert eyes. After confirming that there was no danger around him, he breathed a long sigh of relief. Then he looked at his companion next to him with an expression of hopelessness. "You don't know, when I woke up early in the morning, I saw cows everywhere in this square. Those cows chased me desperately, as if they were going to kill me. I was so scared that I fainted." After hearing his words, several people first looked at each other, and then burst out laughing. "You must have drank too much water before going to bed last night. I guess you woke up from peeing and then sleepwalked here. Besides these stone sculptures, where are the cows? You thought your dream was reality, and then you scared yourself to the point of pissing your pants. Why don't you go back and change your pants now?" Faced with the ridicule and incomprehension of his colleagues, this staff member was full of shame and anger. "I kid you not, I actually saw those cows come to life. They look exactly like those stone sculptures. Not only can they move, but they can also breathe heavily." As he spoke, he pointed to the stone cows around him. The horrific scene he had seen before seemed to reappear before his eyes. However, no matter how he explained it to the program team, the other people just didn't believe what he said. I don't blame them for this, because it sounds so outrageous. A group of cows carved from stone suddenly came to life in the middle of the night. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it would turn into stone again after dawn. Just after they finished laughing at their companions, they suddenly remembered something. "By the way, didn't we set up a camera here last night?" Yes, the live broadcast should have been on all night. Watch the live replay and you'll know what's going on. By the way, where is Teacher Yang now? Maybe he went to have breakfast by himself. Let's watch the live replay first." Seeing this, the staff member immediately became extremely excited. It's not like he's carving on a piece of stone, but like he's creating a living life. The playback also clearly showed the process of Yang Lin carving the remaining stone cows. It was at this time that the number of viewers in the live broadcast room began to surge. With such curiosity, they watched the whole process of Yang Lin carving the remaining stone cows together. When the 9 cows were all formed, the screen in the live broadcast room was already filled with barrages. In order to figure out the cause of the matter, they immediately started the live broadcast replay. Although he just shook his head and opened his mouth, it was still shocking enough. And this also made the program team members who were already confused even more confused. Because this means that this stone cow seems to be alive at this moment. However, what he didn't notice was that several of his colleagues were already stunned at this moment. The largest number is the word fuck. Obviously the scene frightened the audience, but at the same time it also aroused their curiosity. At the same time, Peng Chun Liang, who had big dark circles under his eyes, walked over carrying a large thermal bag. The owner of this figure is the program staff member who was awakened by urine earlier. At this moment, the live broadcast was still going on in the live broadcast room, but when they saw the number of people online in the live broadcast room, they were shocked. "Did you see it? I didn't lie to you. I just said these cows came back to life, but you still don't believe me. The movements are also faster than the next, and the whole process is smooth, without any stagnation. Later on, Yang Lin's carving technique can be called miraculous. It only took less than half an hour to build such a huge stone cow. The scene that happened next was what he had experienced before. This means that nearly 1 million people watched Yang Lin chiseling rocks all night. When seeing this scene, the live broadcast room was filled with all kinds of surprising comments. But before he took 2 steps, the thermal bag in his hand fell directly to the ground. And this number continues to increase. There was nothing wrong at first, until Yang Lin finished carving the second stone cow. I saw that the stone cow carved from stone actually came to life the moment it was carved. And at this time, a change occurred, and the 9 cows came to life together, until a figure broke in. However, the reality is not what they thought. The number of people in the live broadcast room is not only large, but also very large, nearly 1 million people. While talking, several members of the program team found the filming equipment they had set up nearby. Immediately afterwards, Yang Lin began to carve the third stone cow in front of hundreds of thousands of live broadcast room viewers. Originally, they thought that after playing like this all night, there would be few people left in the live broadcast room. After all, the live broadcast was too boring, and not many people could stand it. Perhaps due to the training from the first 2 games, he became particularly skilled in the third game. Peel off the rock armor layer by layer on a cow. And this stone cow is also alive like the previous one. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 369. There is no doubt that Peng Chunliang, who arrived suddenly, was also startled by the 9 stone bull statues in front of him. After he watched Yang Lin carve the first stone cow with his own eyes last night, he left early because the company had something to do temporarily. He didn't know Yang Lin's specific progress. I thought that one night might only be enough for him to complete 1 or 2 ends. Even so, it is extremely fast. However, what he didn't expect was that what appeared in front of him at this moment was 9 stone cows. The 9 heads were carved in one night. Even in today's highly industrialized world, this is a very explosive thing. Not to mention hammering it with a hammer, even if you use 3D printing, you may not be able to print it all in one night. If you want to complete all 9 heads at the same time, you may need an extremely complete modern industrial assembly line to complete it. After the shock, he seemed to have thought of something again, and hurriedly walked to the 9 cows and looked at them one by one. The more I looked at it, the more frightened I became, and the more I looked at it, the more incredible it became. He originally thought that the first stone cow carved by Yang Lin was already the pinnacle. But when I saw the 8 heads at the back, I realized that the one in front was really just a training exercise. It's incredible, it's incredible. Did Teacher Yang really complete this in one night? As he spoke, he touched the stone cow in front of him. I thought it would be a smooth surface, but after I started using it, I discovered that there was a layer of velvet to the touch. Through the velvet, I seemed to be able to feel the strong muscles underneath. Immediately he looked intently at the stone carvings in front of him. My eyes widened as I looked at him. Because he actually found hair-like objects on it that were as thick as a human hair. Although it was close to the stone cow's skin, this was too outrageous. How he accomplished such a delicate carving was something he couldn't figure out. In addition to the cow hair, the eyes of this stone cow are also particularly surprising. Not only is it very expressive, but the eyes inside can also be moved. Standing in front of this stone cow is like actually facing a live cow. Just when Peng Chunliang was filled with emotion, several members of the program team also walked up to him. How about Mr. Peng? Our teacher Yang is doing a good job, right? Look at this cow, it looks just like the real thing. Do you think your 100 million was worth it? Hearing the questions from the program team, Peng Chunliang nodded wildly without thinking. It's worth it? It's really worth it? Let alone 9 heads, even if one sells for 100 million, it is still a bloody profit. But no matter how high the price offered is 1 billion or 10 billion, I will not sell it because I have a hunch that as long as these 9 cows are still here, I will have a steady stream of wealth. The more he talked, the more joyful the expression on his face became. Immediately, he couldn't help but let several people from the program team take photos one after another of him and the stone cows present. From this we can also see his love for these stone bull statues. After he took the photo, he suddenly remembered that there seemed to be one missing person at the scene. By the way, where did Teacher Yang go? We don't know either. He was no longer here when we woke up. Just as everyone was looking for Yang Lin, a man came over not far away carrying a big bucket. When they took a closer look, they discovered that the person carrying the bucket was Yang Lin. They immediately took the initiative to greet him. They originally thought that what Yang Lin was carrying would be some kind of breakfast, but when they looked down, they discovered that the full bucket of breakfast was clearly a bucket of bright red blood. The blood was still bubbling and steaming, and there was even a trace of residual warmth. Looking at this horrifying bucket of blood, several members of the program team hurriedly asked, "Teacher Yang, what's in this bucket? It must be blood." "I know. What I'm asking about is blood. It can't be human blood." Coupled with their majestic and ferocious appearance, for a moment there was a sense of sight of thousands of troops. As the phone calls continued, the expression on Peng Chunliang's face became more and more excited. Although there is no appearance of all this, everyone present is aware of it. As soon as they heard that the bucket contained bull's blood, everyone seemed to have thought of something, and looked at the 9 stone bull statues unconsciously. The first call was hung up, and the second call came in again. Seeing that everyone was very curious, Yang Lin did not show off. "Hello, Mr. Niu, are you planning to re-sign the contract?" Okay, I'll go back to the office and wait for you right now." There is no doubt that the originally imposing saber building has fallen behind under the impact of the 9 bull formation. Before he could say thank you, his phone suddenly rang. At this moment, the gears of his fate began to turn again. After this momentum passed, everyone suddenly felt their eyes and ears clear, and even their groggy heads became much clearer. "You mean to say that Teacher Yang went to kill people early in the morning? Just looking at it makes people feel scared." Even the saber building in front, which originally looked a bit dazzling, no longer looks so obtrusive now. The remaining 8 stone cows and Yang Lin also followed the same method. Before anyone could react, he took out a brush, dipped it in the cow's blood in the bucket, and tapped the stone cow's eyes twice. There are faint sounds of galloping and cattle braying, as if you are among the cattle on the prairie. Not sure if it was an illusion, but after Yang Lin completed the series of operations, they suddenly felt that the stone cow statue in front of them became murderous. At the same time, the square was also enveloped by an inexplicable momentum. And Yang Lin's next operation did not exceed their expectations. Pandeo went to several wet markets to find the bull's blood. For a time, everyone became interested in the unknown blood in Yang Lin's hands. "This is cow blood. Let me guess if it's black dog blood. Hello, Mr. Chu, do you also want to sign a new contract? Or do you want to sign it for 10 years at once? Okay, welcome, we will definitely provide you with the best service." Needless to say, Yang Lin went to get a bucket full of cow blood so early in the morning, which must be related to those statues. Then he used the brush to brush the sharp corners of the stone cow's head a few times until both pairs of sharp corners were dyed blood red, and then he stopped. Although it only lasted for a moment, everyone could still clearly perceive it. Especially the moment Peng Chunliang took effect in the Juniu formation, he felt inexplicably that he became more confident, as if all the bad luck left him in an instant. Bull's blood. In a short time, all 9 stone cows in the square were stained with blood. It's not like we're trying to catch ghosts, we're just looking for blood. It even directly promoted this place into a treasure land. The impact on Luteng City's financial center has also been eliminated. I saw that he actually had a bucket full of cow blood, and he quickly walked to a stone cow statue. Entertainment, let you do a side job and set up a stall to tell fortunes. Author, Immortal Q int Love is. Chapter 370. After making more than a dozen calls in a row, Peng Chunliang was also smiling. It can be seen from his rosy face that something happy is coming. When the phone stopped ringing, he happily walked to Yang Lin. Daozang Yang, thank you very much. The 9 bulls formation on your side has just taken shape, and good things will continue to happen on my side. My old customers who had cancelled their contracts suddenly collectively requested to renew their contracts. Now the financial center is finally fully revitalized. After saying this, he couldn't help but look at the 9 stone cows again. The fondness in his eyes was almost impossible to hide. I think this is it. From now on, this place won't be called Luteng Financial Center. It will be renamed Junya Financial Center. I believe those customers will be happier than me when they see these 9 stone cow statues. This is a really good sign. After a series of emotions, Peng Chunliang hurriedly brought over the breakfast he had bought earlier. While urging everyone to have breakfast, he took out his mobile phone. Teacher Yang, please give me a bank account, and I will transfer to you the 100 million I promised you before. Although Yang Lin has taken a dim view of money, he will naturally not let go of the 100 million he received. Then he reported a bank card number. Not long after, he received a text message on his mobile phone. And not long after he received the final payment, Zhao Jinqing got out of a commercial vehicle with several of his friends. Just like Peng Chunliang before, Zhao Jinqing and several of his friends in the shopping mall were shocked every moment after seeing the 9 stone cow statues. The words of admiration almost never stopped. Lao Peng, you really made a profit this time. You just spent 100 million to have Taoist Yang carve these 9 treasures for you. Let me tell you, this one is not even worth 100 million. Lao Peng, you think it won't be a problem if you have 1 or 2 missing here. How about I spend 200 million to buy one from you? It would be a great honor to put it in front of our company. 200 million won't be enough for me to spend 300 million. Facing the bids from several friends, Peng Chunliang looked serious. You just put your thoughts back into your stomach. These cows will become our family's heirlooms from now on. I will pass it on to my son and grandson in the future. Don't tell me that you have 100 or 200 million. Even if you have 10 billion or 20 billion, I won't be able to sell it to you. Hearing Peng Chunliang's words, Zhao Jinqing and others burst into laughter. Although he didn't say it on his lips, the envy in his eyes was real. With their eyes, they can naturally see the uniqueness of these 9 stone cow statues. As a result, they admired Yang Lin even more. Taoist Yang did not expect that you have such high attainments in time. I am afraid that no one in the entire Dragon Kingdom can match you. Hearing Zhao Xingquan's compliment, Yang Lin just nodded lightly and seemed not to care. He was just doing it on a whim. Making 100 million is not the second priority, the main point is to practice the sculpting skills in the sculpting technique. After a night of practice, I already had some new insights. These insights were also of great benefit to his spiritual practice. He had a hunch that he might be able to use this method when he was going through the catastrophe in the future. At the same time, he also remembered something. Since Ma Silang was able to receive the blessing from the gods in the upper world before, he obtained the magical book of shaping Ju. So theoretically speaking, there must be other people who have had adventures like Masuro. If these things can be found, Yang Lin believes that he will be more confident in surviving the catastrophe. Thinking of this, he immediately sank into the sea of consciousness and contacted heaven. Let Tiandeo collect some relevant things on the internet. Especially some anecdotes that happened in history. According to Tiandao's ability to collect information, the results should be available soon. And before that, Yang Lin suddenly looked at the Endo building not far away. When the bald man heard what he said, he immediately winked at the man in a suit beside him. His pale face was covered with age spots, as if he might burp at any moment. Hearing the bald man's arrogant words, Peng Chunliang immediately became angry. Not to mention that it has become a place of ruined feng shui, but it is at least a few levels lower than before. When he led the group of people to the square, their eyes turned to the 9 stone cows. After fiddling with the compass a few times, his expression suddenly changed. Obviously, this can't be a coincidence. I give you 2 hours. You must move all these cattle within 2 hours. Before he even got close, he pointed at everyone with a vicious look and said. But from the gestures he kept pointing at the stone cow, it could be seen that what he said was not good. I believe this change will be felt by the owner of the building soon. The leader was a bald man wearing a black kimono, with wooden clogs on his feet. The expression on his face was extremely fierce, giving people the feeling that strangers should not approach him. Then he pointed nervously at the 9 stone cow statues and said some words that no one could understand. The next second something appeared in the man's hand. You can already feel the strong evil aura on his body even before you get close. A shiny steel needle more than an inch long. Not long after the old monk finished speaking, the bald man led a group of people behind him and walked toward Peng Chunliang and others aggressively. I put these in front of my building, what are you doing? Otherwise we will file a complaint against you with the relevant departments. After looking up and down, Bald Chiang turned his attention to an old monk behind him. Only a pair of small eyes sparkled with a hint of light. Judging from the direction they were traveling, it seemed that they were heading right towards them. But before he could sneak out the steel needle, he looked at him. Only then did he find a Taoist priest in Taoist robes standing quietly not far from him. On the spot, the man in a suit felt cold sweat breaking out all over his body. Less than 10 minutes passed before a group of people wearing black suits and traditional Ni Hongguo costumes got out of the car. When the Junya formation took shape, he could feel that the feng shui of the building was instantly affected. At the same time, the old monk from the Neon Kingdom who was at the back also felt a palpitation in his heart. Who asked you to put these things here? Your cattle have seriously affected our Endo building. The old monk was dressed in monk's clothing, his face was full of wrinkles, and the earlobes on both sides of his head almost drooped to his shoulders. What happened next seemed to confirm this. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Just as he was thinking this, several cars drove out of the Endo building. And this is the Dragon Kingdom. If it weren't for you Neon, it wouldn't be your turn to run wild here. He didn't know what the bald man asked him, but he immediately dug inside his sleeves and finally took out a compass.